Welcome to the Vietnamese Poetry, Literature channel. Today we will listen to the work, Flock of Wagtails, by author Nguyen Quang Thu. Let's listen. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, Mon woke up. He turned to his brother and whispered, Mr. Men, Mr. Men. What is it? Are you not sleeping? Men asked again, his voice dry as if he had woken up a long time ago. Did you say the rain was heavy? Lee, not big. So you didn't hear anything? But you said the river's water level is high? Now it must be flooded to the bottom of the beach. So you said. What do you say so much? Men scolded his younger brother. I said. Mon hesitated, has the sandbank in the middle of the river flooded yet? Yes, Men's voice suddenly exclaimed, maybe the sand beach is about to be flooded. I'm afraid the young wagtails will drown. I'm scared too. So you said they can swim? Birds can't swim. You make a wagtail just like a duck. The two children lay in a torn felt blanket, whispering and talking. It's still raining heavily outside. In the sound of the rain, there seemed to be the sound of the river rising and flowing rapidly. Yesterday afternoon, I followed my father to play cymbals at the river bank. So what? Dad said that only in our village's river do wagtails build nests like that. Why doesn't it build a nest on the shore? I do not know. The rain gets heavier and the wind gets stronger. The sliding door was rattled by the wind. There was a sound of someone passing by the alley of the two children's house calling to each other. Someone said, damn. This year the river is so big you should know. Who's going where? Mon asked. People in the village went to pull the river basin back. What if the water floods the sandy beach, huh? Don't ask anymore, go to sleep. Men huffed and turned his back to his sister. The two children lay still, but did not sleep. Perhaps their father was right. Only in the river in our village do wagtails build nests like that. Every year during the dry season, a strip of sand emerges in the middle of the village river. After a while, the lush riverweed gradually withered, forming a soft cushion on the sand. At that time, slender and quiet wagtails flew from the riverbanks to the sandy beach. They look for dry, thick patches of algae to lay their eggs. When the young wagtails have enough feathers, strange clouds fly in from the Wa Bin limestone mountains, signaling the rainy season. Every night the thunder sounds gradually move from a distant horizon to the other side of the river. And suddenly one night, almost dawn, thunder boomed on the roof and rain poured down. The day river stirs and grows. After just a few nights, the strip of sand floating in the middle of the river sank to the end when the young wagtails flapped their wings for the first time in their lives. The little birds broke free from the giant stream of water and flew to shore. And in the dry season next year, they returned to the floating sandbar to begin their birthing season. 10 days ago, two brothers, Men, ran away from their parents and waded to the floating sand strip in the middle of the river. Only children know the safest route zigzags along the bottom of the river. They avoid deep holes created by villagers collecting sand. The two Men brothers went to the wagtail's nest. Seeing the movement, the young wagtails chirped. The two children thoughtfully knelt down next to them. When do you think they will be able to fly? Mon asked. In a few days. So their mother went looking for food? Yes. Can wagtails eat mussels? I don't know, but its parents still wade for food along the river. Shall we catch the mussels and put them in the nest to feed them? Yes, let's go. The two children went to the water's edge. They look for small cave holes. In those small caves there is always a mussel or a worm. In just a moment, the two of us caught a handful of mussels. They placed mussels covered in sand next to the bird's nest. Before leaving the sandbar, Men told his younger brother. Don't tell anyone about this bird's nest. If you tell me, I won't let you out here anymore. So when will we visit them again? 3 more days. Hey, if Dad asks where we're going, tell me it's down to Guava Beach. But the two children could not fulfill their plan. This year's rainy season seems to come earlier. For several days it rained continuously and the river water rose very quickly. Hey bro. Mon whispered again. What? Have you ever seen a wagtail flying from the sand to the shore? Not yet. The bird's nest will sink. Men lay silently and did not answer his brother. After a while he asked. So what to do now? Or we bring them to shore. The water is so big now, how can I wade out there? I don't know. The two children lay silently again. The rain still poured down on the roof and the wind still blew against the door jambs. Yesterday afternoon, Dad caught a milkfish. But still showing off, everyone knows. A very big and beautiful goby fish. I stole the goby fish. So where is it? Men turned to his younger brother and asked. I dropped it into the river sewer. You said, is that the goby in the boat coal hole under the wharf? Do you see the big black dot on its fin? I don't see. In the afternoon, after emptying the fish basket into the basin, my father said the goby was missing. Dad said maybe the milkfish ate the goby. Dad asked Mom to cut open the bamboo shoot to see if there was a goby in its belly. Hi, men laughed happily. The hole for the boat pole is completely flooded, isn't it? It's been flooded since yesterday afternoon. Even if the house is flooded, you won't be afraid. Hey bro. What? The bird's nest is flooded, sir. We have to bring them to shore, brother. Are you leaving now? Men asked after a minute of silence. Yes, just take Mr. Howe's boat and go. This time, Men was silent longer. Finally it turned back to its younger brother. Go, but be gentle. Dad woke up and beat him to death. The two men brothers quietly crawled out of the blanket and off the bed. They sat quietly on the edge of the bed for a long time. Are you going? Men asked. Yes, sir, Mon trembled. The two of them groped their way through the dark house to the door. When the door was opened slightly, the wind rushed in. The two children shivered slightly and slipped out. Let me see where Dad keeps his raincoat. Men said and followed the porch to the kitchen. A moment later he brought up 2 raincoats and 2 leaf hats they often used to herd buffalo. They put on raincoats and hats and walked down to the yard. A clap of thunder boomed overhead. Lightning flashed. Mon quickly hugged his brother's arm. Honey, is there someone standing at the entrance of the alley? Where? Why is there anyone? Where? I saw it when I blinked. The two children stood silently in the middle of the yard. Their bodies trembled. Rain showers pelted them. There, that person. Do you see? Mon cried out after the flash of lightning. You're so stupid. Men's voice sounded like a sigh of relief. That was the last tree I cut in the afternoon for the pigs. Stop it. The two brothers, Men, walked out of the alley and down to the riverbank. In the flash of lightning, the two children saw an unusually large river. Do you see the sandbar? It's very dark. When they reached the middle of the riverbank, the two children seemed to be drifting together because of the wind. A deafening clap of thunder sounded like it was right on the top of their hats. The two children seemed to bounce off the ground. Brother, Mon cried out and hugged his brother. What? Men was panicked. Who's wearing a hat standing there? Don't talk anymore. There you are. Mon's voice sounded like crying. A bolt of lightning shot out from somewhere and spread across the sky like a giant tree root. But still look, Men was angry. A scarecrow is chasing birds, not a person. Oh, that's right. Mon exclaimed. Now he remembered the scarecrow someone had set up at the beginning of the corn crop. Later, the children still rebuilt it to play. It seems that after this time, the two children were less afraid. They walked quickly down to the ferry wharf. Men struggled to untie the rope tying the boat, his hands shaking. From time to time it looked back toward the boatman's house near the foot of the dike. Okay. Come up. Mon hastily climbed up. The two children held the boat pole, which was too long and heavy for them to handle, and pushed hard. The heavy boat slid away from the shore. But as soon as it encountered the water, the boat turned around and just drifted downstream. The two children were frantic with the pole. But the boat seemed to ignore them and just drifted away. Men pulled the pole, walked up to the bow of the boat and called out to his younger brother. Come here, quickly. Mom staggered inside the boat and up towards the bow. As soon as he set foot on the wooden platform at the bow of the boat, a strong wind blew the leaf hat off his head. Mon quickly waved his hand and fell onto the side of the boat. Hey bro. Men panicked and let go of the pole and rushed to hug his younger brother. He heard his two brothers' hearts beating until his head was dizzy. The hat fell into the river. Even the ferry flute. A thunderclap sounded like it was about to launch the boat. The two children hugged each other tightly. Lost. Lost the boat pole, huh? Oh, men gasped. If his sister wasn't there, he probably would have burst into tears. He took off his leaf hat and put it on his younger brother and said, "You must let go of the oar and row, otherwise the boat will float away." The two children held hands and staggered on the planks in the canal down to the oars. It took a lot of effort for them to lower the big, heavy wooden oar into the water. The oar in fast water became extremely heavy. The two children could not stir the oars. The rain is still pouring. The river rose and swayed. If you hold the oar like this, the boat can reach shore. The two children used all their strength to hold the oar. Their heads were facing each other. "Are you crying?" Men asked when he heard his sister sniffle. "Dry. Oh, sir." Drifting to the river, about 2 kilometers from the village wharf, the two children were able to drift ashore. "We're on shore," Mom cried out happily. "So what?" Men's voice seemed very adult at this point. "Let's get off the boat." The two men brothers quickly jumped off the boat. "Should I leave the ferry here?" "You have to pull it back to the dock, otherwise you'll die." "Now I pull and you push." Men wrapped the rope tying the boat around his body and leaned back to pull. Behind, Mom waited and pushed the boat. "The sandbar hasn't sunk yet, right?" "Probably not." When the two children brought the boat back to its original place, it was already dawn. They quickly tied the boat to the wharf, then immediately ran back up the riverbank overlooking the sandbar. "Did you see anything?" "I haven't seen it yet." "So you said it was completely flooded?" "Let me try to see." Men said and sat down. He strained his eyes to look closely at the river surface. "Can a bird fly if its wings are wet? Greater than?" "You wait out there and ask." "Honey, maybe Dad is awake." After Men's words, the two children began to feel scared, but still stood and stared out into the middle of the river. "It's morning." "Hey, there, that strip of sand." Mon suddenly exclaimed. "That right. Not completely submerged yet." "You said the birds are still there?" "Don't know. But Dad said that when the water is completely submerged, the birds will fly up." "Why didn't they fly first?" "How'd I know?" When the dawn light was bright enough to clearly illuminate the particles on the river surface, that was also the time when the giant water flow swallowed the rest of the sandbar. And before the two children's eyes, a legendary scene appeared. From the river surface, small and wet bird wings suddenly broke away from the immense water and flew up. The two children could not make a sound. Their bodies seemed to be radiating heat. Since yesterday afternoon, the water began to rise faster. Wherever the water rose, the father and mother birds led the young birds away to avoid the water. Just like that, they gradually approached the highest point of the sandbar. And so all night long the flock of young birds hopscotch on their slender legs that are not yet very strong while flapping their wings. The father and mother birds also flap their wings as if to teach and encourage. They must be impatiently hoping that their cubs will soon have enough strength to lift themselves off the ground firmly. If you take off early, the young birds will fall into the water on the way from the sandbar to the shore. But if they take off slowly, they will be swept away by the current. And now the birds have taken flight. The sun seemed to rise faster than usual and the rain suddenly stopped. Suddenly a bird seemed exhausted. Its wings suddenly stopped. It fell like a leaf. The mother bird spread her wings, circled around her baby and cried out. But when the young bird's slender, trembling legs touched the surface of the river, its wings beat with a decisive beat. The little body jumped out of the water and flew higher than the first time it took off from the sand. Around the two children, everything suddenly fell silent, except for the fierce flapping of the wings of the young birds. They seemed to hear in their chests the rapid but steady beating of the birds' hearts. In the end, the entire flock of young birds successfully made the most magnificent and important first flight of their lives. Weak Wings landed next to a grove of wild pineapples on the riverbank. The two men brothers still stood without moving. Their faces, pale from the rain, shone with the light of day. Men quietly turned back to look at his younger brother. And both babies realized when they had been crying. "Why are you crying?" Men asked. "I don't know, what about you?" The two men looked at each other and laughed awkwardly. Then suddenly both of them turned around and ran towards their house. After a while, Mon stopped to breathe and called. "Mr. Men, Mr. Men." Wait for me. No, I won't play with you anymore.